Good morning, everyone. It's Anifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I can tell you that my contemplative time this morning has been so much about mysticism. And it's interesting that a little while ago, maybe a couple of months ago, a very good friend of mine had sent me an image, a quotation, that was by Swami Vivekananda. And it's about mysticism and this experience that can only be described as mysticism. And more through the days, I'm understanding or feeling that my experience is very much almost a mystical experience. And there would be no other way for me to explain it. And that quotation so hit home. If I can find it, and I'm sure it's on my phone, I will post it under this video. But for now, I thought I'd share with you. I think many of you know that even from the poetry books that I've just created, that I love nature and I love connecting with something deeper in nature too. It's the essence of nature around me, and certainly I'm doing that in all of my space. So even this tree, which is not a real tree, but it was such a connecting experience to be even lovingly putting up the decorations or connecting with this experience of this is where I am today, here, now, right? So this feeling feels very mystical of being in the now and really in this awe and wonder of it all. And I came across this quotation today, which is by Oliver Sacks, and it says, "My religion is nature." That's what arouses those feelings of wonder and mysticism and gratitude in me. And I think that's my experience. I really find that when I am out in nature, I'm in that space. But even when I'm just contemplating experiences with people around me, whether it's clients or family or friends, it feels very mystical and divine. And I love that experience. And the next quotation that I came across, of course, was right in line. It says, "Mysticism is the acceptance that everything cannot be logically explained." Everything cannot be logically explained. And I so believe this because I think that when we are really determined to have a logical explanation for things, we come to a point where we can't explain anymore. And it's so interesting that I was very much a scientifically minded person. And I reached a limit in that experience, which is what really allowed this direction to flourish for me. And though I think there's a lot of value to logical reasoning and acting from that space, I think there's a humble acceptance of what is beyond that logical reasoning. And so, of course, I wanted to also share a quotation that I came across by the poet named Hafiz, which is what my brother's name was. And it also matches how I feel about this experience. It says, "An awake heart is like a sky that pours light. An awake heart is like a sky that pours light." Isn't that beautiful? So again, that sky is always pouring light. But occasionally we also see it, right? So there's an awake heart. So I feel like this awakened heart that suddenly feels this light from so many experiences around me. And it's such a beautiful thing. And then that got me into thinking about, wow, all of this experience is very energetic. As you know, I also do energy work. And my whole intention is to use energy work to heal, whether myself, but more often the people around me. So whether it's friends, family, clients, that is my focus, this true intention to work from me to we, that we are all experiencing. And I love this experience, and it feels very uniting for me, which is a fantastic space. And so when I remembered that, I was thinking, yeah, it's all of this awareness of quantum physics and this connection, and how mysticism and quantum physics are actually speaking the same language, which is so interesting, right? Because you get to a point in quantum physics where it's beyond description. There becomes this space of nothingness, I'm going to say, which is not descriptive in terms of wanting something very specific about this is what's happening at this level. There comes a point where there is this unknown. And I thought about how I had gone through a course in my last year of my first degree, It was a physics course, which was a year long, and it was everything from Babylonian numerology to Einstein's physics and theory of relativity. And that was the first time I was introduced to quantum physics. And then I learned about it again when I had worked on learning therapeutic touch from an instructor at McMaster. And this nurse, she was such an amazing professor, and she realized what I was realizing, because I couldn't explain why my healing on clients that I was doing out of experiment for this course I was in with her on a one-on-one, I couldn't understand why I really believed it would not work, and yet I had used it with full intention to help people, and it had every single person that I worked with therapeutic touch, which has no actual touch, which is kind of like Reiki. It actually resulted in fabulous experiences for the patients that tracked me down to let me know. So I was speaking with her about this, and she said, Hanifa, I'd like you to read these books. And one of the books I do remember her recommending at that time was Space, Time, and Medicine. It's by Larry Dossey, and it's a very, very good introduction to seeing how quantum physics can be used in the medical world. And this is what I do now. I just look at it, I move ahead, and I see today all of that has come together to be in this space, because now I help people heal their hearts and emotions, their thoughts and thinking and mind, and then finally their connection to a higher divine energy, which is the experience that I feel a lot of people have been able to experience as mystics, sages, saints, gurus, swamis. And I am loving having the experience myself. I do notice that the people who have not experienced this are very quick to comment judgmentally. Sometimes it's just a tone in something that's said. Sometimes it's the rolled eyes. Sometimes it's the, well, I thought you'd know this. If you are so in touch with this other energetic field, shouldn't you know this? And, you know, for a lot of time in my practice when I was doing pulse diagnosis through Chinese medicine, people often looked at me like, okay, tell me what's going on in my body. Tell me what's happening. And I was not then, and I am not now, a psychic, but I am in tune with energies. And much like meditation, which allows us to receive what we are ready to receive from this form, this mind, this experience, it's the same as when I'm receiving energetic awarenesses about others and their health and things that I can do to help. So if it's not necessary for me to be involved, I will not learn. And you know how the Buddha says, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives, that sort of idea. I feel the teacher for me is the universe, for all of us, I believe. And sometimes our teachers are practitioners, and sometimes they're friends, and sometimes it's nature. And so I came across one final quote that I'd love to share with you. And I would love for you to think about how open and curious are you to learning deeper mysteries, because we're all experiencing them and we're all at different levels of consciousness. But if you're interested, then know that the information will come to you, and you too need to do a little bit of reaching out to ask for help if you are not aware, rather than speaking from a prideful spot of that can't be true because I haven't experienced it. Maybe that curious spot of, I wonder if that's true. I wonder if I could experience it. I wonder if that person can help me get there. And I would love to, as you know. So this quotation is by Neil Donald Walsh, and this quotation says, "Quantum physics tells us that nothing that is observed is unaffected by the observer." That statement from science holds an enormous and powerful insight. It means that everyone sees a different truth because everyone is creating what they see. And if you don't know this, in terms of quantum physics, anything that is happening, once it has our participation of looking at it or thinking about it or almost directing it, like I bet that's going to happen, it actually affects what happens. So when we are in tune with our thoughts, our words, our actions, we become in alignment with what we are creating. So I hope you think about that for 5 minutes and see, what are you creating and how are you thinking and are you in tune? And I love that you have joined me today. I wish you a fabulous day ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.